Today, we're going to dive into an investment deck going over ESG, that's environmental, social, and corporate governance. We're going to go over our 7 tips to a successful investment deck. All of that coming up.
It's only entertainment.
Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, capital markets analyst and host of your cannabis business podcast. With me today, Dr. David Cunic, U.C.S. Advisors. Dr. David, thanks again for being on the Talking Hedge.
Hey, thanks for having me, Josh. It's always a pleasure being here, my friend.
Likewise. All right, let's dive into this deck here. It's an ESG deck. It's an investment deck. Mind you that this is not financial advice. This is only entertainment, right? So this is not an offering. We're just reviewing this deck. So we've got our 7 tips to a successful investment deck. At the end, we're going to tally that up and kind of see where we're at on this score. So just jumping right into it, this is Cannabis, ESG. That's excellence for cannabis in the global cannabis and hemp industry. They don't have any contact information. Is there anything you want to suggest on slide 1?
Definitely contact information, but also too, be mindful. He says November 2022. It's almost March 2023.
To be fair, I've had this for a while.
Okay, never mind then. But just for everyone listening and for all the listeners, just be careful of the date on your deck, because if it's more than 90 days old, some investors won't even look at it.
Yeah. I got this during MJ BizCon, and everyone in the world's been busy, so we're finally getting to it. But you said the timing was right
for the audience.
Yeah. Yep. Good call. So disclaimer, we mentioned the last time that they didn't have one. They've got one. So this is telling you this is not an offer of sale or whatever, or actually more than that. So anyways, you can just have a legal disclaimer.
They have one, and that's what's most important. And they put it on the second page, which is what I'm a stickler for. Some people put it at the very end. I say, no, put it on the second page, just so it's right there. Get it done and out of the way.
Yep. All right. So they got this title, Why Invest in Cannabis. The title should be maybe changed, in my opinion, to what it is or what the solution is, because they talk about the problem statement is the planet's in crisis. So with increasing climate disruption, social injustice, humanity all at the crossroads, we all have a choice. That sounds more like a problem statement than why invest. The why invest should be at the very end.
I agree. And also, too, for people that aren't very familiar with ESG, take a second, talk about it right away. And that's a very, very bold statement. Our planet is in crisis. Wait, am I investing in something for global warming? Am I investing something that's more about for recycling? That's a very, it's such a broad statement. I'm like, ooh. So.
All right. So we're getting into professional services, that there's 3 integrated go-to-market verticals about technology, advisory, and convening. And that ESG is going to provide that script from which a company's sustainability and brand narratives can be drawn to help companies deliver strategic, financial, and operational goals.
I mean, my feedback on this is just more of, once again, they kind of jumped right into things a little bit without giving too much of a background right away. I think the slide is actually a decent slide. Just once again, talk a little bit more about ESG, give a little bit more background really quick. However, though, this deck might be catered towards people that really understand that ESG sector and that really understand it in the cannabis sector already. So it could be a very custom made deck. We just don't know that.
All right, challenges. So ESG is converging of key drivers. That's rising climate litigation, non-financial data being materialized, changing consumer attitudes, and increasing regulation.
You want me to go first here, Josh?
Yeah.
Okay. So for our listeners and for our audience, great informational slide. Though something that Josh and I talked about before, where do you want the viewers' eyes to go first? There's no color contrast. There's no, hey, top 4 key drivers, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's a very powerful slide, but it doesn't really bring the audiences or the viewers' eyes on where I should start and what I should really focus on in the beginning. And that'd be my constructive criticism for this, is that once again, when you're giving a pitch deck, it tells a story, and you need to command the viewer on how to read it accordingly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my eyes kind of work in like a backward Z. So like it's top left. So if you're looking at a check, for example, I always look at like the name and address first and the signature last. So then I look left to right and then down and then over again. And that's kind of how I think maybe a lot of people, I don't know, at least that's how I look. So in terms of like visual layout, you might want to yeah, look at something like that. All right. So looking at ESG compliance reporting. So this is kind of the slide that he's putting in there for proof of concept. Like this is the importance of it.
And I understand, as someone that's a professional investor relations advisor, I get where they're trying to go at this point. But as someone who's an investor, unfortunately, this, once again, you're telling a story. Great. You're saying there's a need, treat me like a third grader. Hey, yeah, even the SEC is requiring this now. Here's an example. Boom. Just one or two extra sentences could go a long way on this slide. So it actually makes a lot more sense.
Mm-hmm. Back to data capture compliance. That's challenging. So they're talking about education, guidance, standardization as kind of the solution, I guess.
I agree once again, and I'm going to sound like a broken record here. It's give me maybe another sentence or two. Give me something that's or what's the word I'm looking for? A conjunctive statement to help bring everything together. For anyone that's looking at your deck, you want it. It's almost like you're teasing them, where they want you to get them on the phone. People forget 90% of the time you'll never present your deck in front of the investor in the beginning. They're going to read it. All right. They're going to read this small deck. And then if they're interested, they're going to get on the phone with you. They're going to review your business plan, your marketing plan. This makes the investor, okay, what am I really doing here? Where are we trying to accomplish? If there's a lot of thinking, and then I'm losing my momentum to go through your deck. And the other thing is too, a lot of investors on your investor pitch deck, they only want to spend maybe 10 or 15 minutes on it, maybe 20 minutes max. Say, okay, hey, this is of interest to me. I want to learn more. So that's a little food for thought. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I think they should have led with this in the very beginning, talking about how hemp and cannabis industry lacks that meaningful regulatory infrastructure, resulting in a sea of ambiguity. That's kind of a problem statement. And then here's the solution or whatever. And they get into it. Because we're on slide 8. I think we got to wait till slide 12 to where we really get into the meat and potatoes of what this deck actually is.
Yep.
So now we're talking about the opportunities. Slide 10 is talking about performance, ESG, that's driving business brand value and creating that value in 5 ways. That's access to capital, risk mitigation, social licensing, new client customer acquisition, and then recruiting and retaining talent. So finally getting into some important information about the benefits to this.
Exactly. It's just, if I want to be really, really particular, I think they could have laid this out a little bit better, have it a little bit more catching to the eye a little bit. Maybe some color contrast. My question is, if you're looking at the deck for the very first time, are they going to address all 5 of these topics in the rest of the deck right now? And we're going to soon find out, aren't we?
We are. The solution. This is probably the best slide in terms of talking about what they're doing, in my opinion. The first ever RegTech B2B SaaS platform for ESG compliance and sustainability. That's what you got to lead with. I got to wait till slide 12 to even know what we're talking about.
I'm, if you can see, I'm smiling right now because literally we went through so many things where I'm like, hey, I'm a little lost. I'm a little confused. I'm thinking too much. And then all of a sudden we get to slide 12 and it's wait, this makes complete sense. I wish you put this on like slide 3 or 4, pretty much. Yeah. Like, because now you're really laying the foundation. Because, and for all the listeners here and for our audience, remember, your pitch deck is supposed to tell a story. All right. And a piece of advice we give all our clients here at U.C.S. Advisors is give your deck to a friend or to a loved one that knows nothing about your business. And then ask them some basic questions. What does our business do? How much money are we raising? What's our path to profitability? And they should be able to answer these questions just from your deck. If not, then it's not really telling a story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We get into slide 13 and talks about how ESG is made simple in 4 phases of planning, implementing, engaging, and then reporting.
Yeah, I thought the slide was fine. Once again, it's a little confusing, the order of everything, because we were hoping that you talked about the 5 ways to build brand value creation, but you're not really going over those 5 right now. You're kind of skipping around a little bit, which is a little confusing. But I mean, the slide's good overall. Just it doesn't flow with the story.
Yeah.
What do you think, Josh?
There's good info. I think it could be laid out better. And like you said, the story could be laid out better. The data is there, the information is there. It's interesting. It could just be done better.
Yeah.
We get into a lot of words on this slide about the cloud-based platform. I think maybe some imagery could be used here because I mean this is just too many words. Just that's it.
So we are being a dead horse here, but if we notice, there's a repeated pattern here. One, where are my eyes going? Lack of color contrast, maybe a little less words, and once again, the story's just jumping around so much. Like we're going to the left, we're going to the right, 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. Which direction am I going in? So as a investor, I'm just my brain's going in different directions. Where at the point it's like, okay, and this is how a lot of investors think, especially investors that are looking at deals nonstop. It's okay. This is way too confusing. I'm on slide 14. You know what? How much time am I really going to spend on this? Let's move on to the next thing. Mm-hmm. And that's what you want to avoid. Because remember, your investor pitch deck is almost a teaser for that investor to say, that's really interesting. I would like to learn more. I would like to get more information. And that's what you really want to lead the investor to with a deck like this.
Yeah. And you might get this too, Dr. David, when somebody has rebuttals and says, well, when I present it in such a way that there is a story, blah, blah, blah. When the reality is that's probably not the decision maker. That's just a gatekeeper. And so you have to be able to have a deck that pretty much tells a story in a way where you don't have to do it yourself.
Exactly. And that goes back to what we were just saying a few minutes ago. Like 90% of the time, you'll never present your investor pitch deck in front of someone.
Mm-hmm.
And people forget that. That's why it tells a story. That's why you shouldn't need an NDA for your investor pitch deck, because you're not giving anything out proprietary. It's just a teaser.
Yeah. And I think they could get a lot of these words in this infographic and just kind of point and say, this is the configurability, this is mobile, this is the report dashboard, and then just get rid of all those other words. So that's one example.
Yep. Well said.
Creating the de facto.
You already did 15 then, right?
Yeah, I just skipped
referring to. Yeah. Okay. Just making sure we're on the same page. Okay.
Yeah. The de facto ESG standards for the cannabis industry. This is probably the solution statement. Where they could kind of get into how to really use this and the functionality or the benefits to it. But again, we're beating a dead horse on where to look and lack of priority in the vision and creation.
Exactly. And there's a lot of information on this page, like a ton.
Mm-hmm.
What's the most important aspect, of the slide? Does it really need to be 2 slides? I mean, I know we're on slide 16 already, so we're starting to get a little long, but it's just kind of food for thought.
Yep. All right, return on investment. So here's the benefits finally, slide 17. A deck really shouldn't even be this long. You should try to keep a deck within 15, I think. All decks are different, whatever, but we're getting a little lengthy here.
I agree. And there's some investors that we work with, they get 8 pages max. Mm-hmm. And one of those pages is a disclaimer page. Like, so like literally it's like, you got to really make it very, very tight and niche. And I agree with you. And then here for the ROI, I mean, I'm looked at this and I mean, I read this slide 3 times and I'm still like, okay, I still don't fully get, is this my ROI for the company that they're helping? Or is this the ROI for me, the investor? And
it's just the benefits of ESG. That's how I read it. We might all be wrong.
exactly. But once again, this comes down to you have to be clear and concise with your message.
Right.
So, an analogy we use here is you want to be like a 3-foot putt. You want to be laser focused.
Mhm.
And usually people say, "Oh, but I'm working on so many other different things." Yes, I know, but remember, this is just the investor pitch deck. Like
Mhm.
Josh, if you're the investor and I got your attention, and you're like, "Hey, let's book a half hour, 40-minute call," then I'm going to tell you, Josh, all the other details to it.
Yeah.
Once again, you're kind of giving a cliff note version. You're giving like a high level view.
Right. And I think this is a third benefit slide we've seen. So you just need one.
Yep.
Again, 4-phase approach. This is the second time we've seen this slide. Pick one. Like it's the same thing.
Well, that or like when I saw this, I'm like, wait, is this a different 4-phase approach for a different aspect? Like, once again, be very careful of your words. Okay. Kind of like, we say, oh, I have a cannabis license. Well, no, is it adult use or is it for medical? Is it a micro license or is it, for full cultivation? You have to be very specific with your words in cannabis, particularly. It
Words
seems like
matter.
thing here, like you're gonna say our 4-phase approach, and that was like 5 slides ago. So is this a different 4-phase approach or is it the same one? Like I don't want to go back and forth as an investor. I'm not, that's wasting my time.
Yeah. I have I create stuff and I'm like, I want to use both of them. And I feel like this is one of those where he's like, I like these slides. I'm going to use both of them. You got to pick one.
Yeah, you have a good point there.
Getting to the ask finally. Looks like $2.5 million for a $25 million valuation, and that's pre-revenue, so 10%. And I'm not really sure what they're going to use the funds for, but they do have some projected financials. Anything you want to say about these two slides?
I mean, for the 2.5, I'd love to see how maybe a little more information why they give themselves a $25 million value pre-money valuation. When they said we've self-funded to date, I wonder how much they've self-funded. If you're setting aside a 500K block for non-credit investors, like even the path to ROI. I mean, I see the projected financials, and right off the bat on slide 21, how are you going from 972,000 to over 4.4 million? I mean, you're talking at over over a 400% increase right there, roughly almost, or 300% increase.
Huge increase in 2023, and then it levels off. So why the spike in 1 year, and then yeah, there's a lot of questions.
Yeah, but I mean, I appreciate them doing that, but this is where, and for everyone listening, if you're going to have such a big change, put a little note on the bottom talking why that is, or you can always put like a little note on the bottom, say, hey, full projected financials available upon request. It's one of those little tricks where you can always just put on the side a little note on the bottom. So
Yeah. Little asterisk there. And then traction, man, this should have been at the very, very beginning. That's crazy out of place.
Yes, and also too, you could lay the slide out better.
Yeah.
And ironically, I know nature's key. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I know some of the people that they're mentioning too on this as well too, but I agree this should have been much earlier on. This would paint a lot clearer picture, but also too, which way are you reading this? What's the biggest traction? What are you most proud of? So, I mean, there's a lot of questions to this.
Yeah. And yeah, they've got strategic partnerships too, I think, with Flora Growth and some of these bigger firms that are in Canada. And I didn't really see anything about it. But we get into management teams. So they do talk about who's there in management. Anything you want to touch on that?
I think what is really interesting is Kelly here. I think it's kind of interesting how the hedge fund that she's managing. I just my question here is the management team, how they plan to use their background to really make this a reality. And the other thing is too, and I think it's probably more in the business plan, but I don't feel this deck really showed what the true business model is. and I still have questions on what the actual business model is. I understand the need for the service, but how are they really implementing this, or how are they really showing this or rolling out this platform? And that's kind of my thought on it.
Yeah, there is a revenue projections, but no revenue model.
Well said. Very well said.
It talks about ESG XL, game changer for the cannabis industry, for all stakeholders, for all humanity. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they have the contact information. If you're going to use words like game changer, be consistent with your theme. You should be using the word game changer throughout the deck. You know, your very last page is kind of the repeat of your mission statements, the repeat of maybe your slogan or your motto. Because Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, but did you hear the word game changer used multiple times earlier in the deck?
I think that was the one and only time.
Yes, that's where, as a investor, it's confusing. Once again, I'm not thinking as much as I should. This is a very, I understand ESG enough to get in trouble. We have some other clients doing it. But once again, what's the business revenue model? What's the path to profitability? And I think, Josh, you and I would both have a much different reaction to this deck if the story was laid out differently.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. So let's get down to the 7 tips of a successful investment deck. Number 1, are they going to identify the business plan goals? Number 2, do they know the audience? 3, will they understand the market? 4, did they identify needs and roadblocks? 5, do they know what sets the business apart? 6, did they introduce the team and products? And number 7, did they create a summary with a call to action? So let's kind of just dive into that. Number 1, Dr. David, do you think that they identified the business plan goals based out of a score of 1? You can give me fractional if you want. What do you think?
I'm going to give him a 0.5 on that.
Okay.
If it did, it just didn't do it in a very thorough way.
Yeah, I'm gonna be generous and give them 0.5 because I still don't know what their I know that they want to do ESG. I just don't know what their revenue model is. So
Yeah,
that's a missing point. What about knowing the audience?
I unfortunately I have to give a 0 on that.
Okay.
Mainly only to the fact that they assume the audience knew everything about ESG. They assume they knew the demand for ESG in the cannabis industry. I don't really think they identified or catered really to the audience properly on this.
Yeah, I'm going to say they kind of missed out on investor audience slides and kind of targeting them a little bit more. I think they could have done that better. In terms of understanding the market, I feel like they know that ESG is important. So I'm going to give them 1 point for understanding the market. I'll give them a full point. How about you?
For understanding the market, yeah, I do agree with you, and I give them a full point for that.
Needs and roadblocks. I didn't see anything. I have to give them a 0 on that.
The only reason why I'm going to give them a 0.25 is because they mentioned 4 phases twice. And I know there was something in there about maybe the roadblocks, but I just didn't make it wasn't very clear and concise. But I know something's in there, just wasn't portrayed very well. So I'll give them a 0.25 on that.
Okay, I'll match you on that one. And then diversification. Do they know what sets their business apart? Did they do a good job explaining that?
I have to give a 0, unfortunately, for that part. No.
I didn't see. I do too, unfortunately, because it's so easy to say, "Hey, we have Curaleaf for any other strategic partner that they've got." They could have said, "We have these companies that are on board. They're going to help us. That this is what's setting us up apart. Is these big players are involved." And they didn't mention any competitor or any strategic partner. So got to go with 0.
Yep.
They did mention what they did mention the team. I'm still not sure what the revenue model is, so I'll give them 3/4 of a point because the product is still a mystery.
I'll match on that. Especially my big thing is too, how does that management team's background apply to ESG? And I don't think they did a very good job showing that on how their skills overlap and actually would benefit here for this.
Mm-hmm. They included financials. I got to give them credit for that. Most that I see don't. There was information at the very end. The they try to throw out some buzzwords and they attempted. So I got to give them a full point on summary with a call to action, even though it should be improved upon. I'll give them a full point.
That one I will give them a full point. Reluctantly, if I were to look at this very black and white, technically they did it, so I'll give them a 1.
Okay. All in all, this is based out of 7 points. They got 3.6. That's a 52%. That's kind of on par with some of the grading that we do here, but it is a learning experience if they decide to watch it and take our advice. If not, plenty of other people do. And if anybody wants to learn more, you're actually doing this with your investment relations firm, U.C.S. Advisors, right? You review pitch decks.
Yeah, we do. We actually we charge a small fee, $428. We'll actually look at your entire investment material, and we'll tell you the good, bad, and the ugly. What's good, what's bad, what you're missing, and how to improve it. And then we also give an option, because some people give their pitches online. We actually offer a program where we'll record you 3 times with your pitch, so you can actually see yourself present, get some constructive criticism of your presentation skills. Try it again, because as we tell people, the best place for you to fail is in front of people like us, investors who also do investor relations advisory work, where we can tell you how investors are truly thinking. Because when you present for an investor, you get one chance. So it's called our Pitch Perfect fundraising package. It works really well, and it's extremely affordable for people, and you get some real good constructive criticism. Because remember, failure to plan is planning to fail.
And if they want to know more information, or they want to take you up on your offer, where can they get some more information at? Where can they contact you at?
Sure. They can go right to the Pitch Perfect page, which is UCSpitchperfect.com, or feel free to send me an email, david@ucsadvisor.com. And Josh, you and I both know I post on LinkedIn probably 4 or 5 days a week. We have a lot of people reach out to us on LinkedIn. However, though, food for thought for everyone raising money: do not send your investor deck via LinkedIn direct messenger without even saying a hello first, or hey, how are you? You will be amazed when people say, oh, hey, I saw you post this video. Here's my deck. Let me know let me know your feedback. Here's my calendar invites. It's like, whoa, how are you doing? Nice to meet you.
Straight to the point. Yeah. But I think with that, we're going to put your contact information, LinkedIn, in the show notes, in the description. So check out Dr. David. But I think with that, we got to roll this one up. So again, I want to thank Dr. David, U.C.S. Advisors. Thanks again for being on the Talking Hedge.
Thanks for having me, Josh. Remember, UCSpitchperfect.com to get more information on how we can help you with your pitch deck.
Perfect. All right. Well, I'm Josh Kincaid. This is the Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't, and I'm out. Don't forget to smash that like button on your way out and check out these other videos that we've got.